to the design thinking session. So a new way to access and solve big problems. Nice to meet you. My name is Caio Arruda. I'm passionate about creativity, curious about photography, lover of spreadsheets. I'm Brazilian, but currently living in Portugal. I'm 23 years old and I'm a project manager. And today I hope that during this small session I can briefly explain you more about design thinking and how you can use this amazing methodology to solve your problems in your daily job, in your personal life. So there are two types of people. The first one is people that usually group things in two groups and people that do not group things in two groups. As you can see, I'm part of the group A, and knowing this, there are two types of problems. The first one are the tame problems. And I bet you know this type of problems because are the problems in which we have a good agreement about the definition of the problem. Often we have fairly and relevant data to solve this specific problem. We can have clear the cause and the effect of this problem specifically, and we can use successfully a linear process and existing data to come with an answer. So basically, we understand how to solve this problem and it's clear how to solve it. The second group is the weak problems. And this one here, we usually have the stakeholders can even agree on a definition of the problem, much less on a solution. There may be a lot of data, but it's not clear which is relevant or not. And the only way to see if something is working is trying. Examples of these two, for example, for the first one, we can have open a door. It's a problem and it's clear how to open the door. You just go there and open the door. Or for example, how to calculate taxes. You cannot be creative when you're calculating the taxes that someone has to pay, your company have to pay. For example, exists a flow, a process that you have to actually follow. Or for example, plant a tree. You just go there, make the hole, put the tree, and the tree is there. On the other hand, the second group of problems are problems such as how to study. Because by the end of the day, the solution for this question, how to study, can be different. I mean, my solution can be different than yours, for example. So we need to consider a lot of parameters here to identify what is the best solution. Or for example, team management, depending on the people that are working in your team, the moment that your team is right now, how to manage everyone depends on a lot of factors. Or the negotiation, how to sell someone an idea, depends on the moment that you are, how the economic is, what is the profile of the other person, and many aspects. And in the design thinking workshop, we are mostly focusing the second group. Why? Meaning that the first one is not important? No. But the first group represents probably 90% of all the problems that we have in our daily life. But we already know how to solve them. I mean, you can be creative, but you can have a huge possibilities and potential in the second group of problems to develop new solutions for these ones. So you're mostly focused in the second group of problems, the weak problems, in which we can use our creativity to solve it. And as I mentioned, to solve these problems, we need creativity. That is something that we talk constantly, but what does creativity mean? What is the definition of creativity? And to answer this, I brought one definition. So it's an innate skill that can be developed through study and training, whose utility is to solve problems by combining ideas and following the steps of the creative process. What does it mean? Means that everyone was born with creativity skills. It's something that we have, so everyone has. Maybe some of us have the creativity more developed than the others, but by the end of the day, creativity is something that we can develop through study, training. And the utility of the creativity is to solve problems. How? Following the steps of the creative process. So exist a process and just follow them, and you are going to solve problems using your creativity. And probably this definition goes against the usual definition that we have, that creativity is having our mind going to different places, exploring different possibilities, etc. And this is interesting because we can bring here the innovation paradox that somehow explain all of this. The innovation paradox says that sometimes in order to be more creative, we have to give people more structure, not less. What does it mean? That to allow people to be creative and use their creative potential to be innovative, we need to give these people a structure so they can be creative in the structure, but by the end of the day, we can have innovation inside the organization, our personal life, etc. And to explain how the creative process works, and so you can understand somehow, we have the input, so everything that we see, it's a book that you read, it's a conversation you had, it's something that you watch, for example, all of these are inputs. You have the combination in your mind, you combine different inputs, and you have the output, that is the creative thing that you just come out with. So you show this to someone, this person gives you feedback, there is another input for you that you combine with the original idea and bring another output. So one example of input combination output, for example, is the iPhone. The input, we can say that were the iPod Touch, the BlackBerry, and we boom, combine both of them and we have the output. And you can say, okay, but it's not as simple as this. Yeah, it's not as simple as this exactly but the base is there. Probably one day Steve Jobs looked to both of them and what if I put the BlackBerry thing in this iPod Touch? What if? And then you start to combine, receive feedback, was another input, and going and going and going. So this is somehow the creative process that you can have in your mind. And being creative allows you to explore many possibilities using the design thinking framework. And what is design thinking? So design thinking is a non-linear iterative process which seeks to understand users, challenge assumptions, redefine problems, and create innovative solutions to prototype and test. And maybe you look at this definition and you say, okay, a lot of buzzwords, I'm not understanding what you're talking about. To explain you, I'll give an example. Let's say that you are going to build a house for a client. This is your job, building a house. And then the first thing that you need to do, someone asks you to do a house, okay, I will draw the house. You can simply go and make a standard house because a person asks for a house, so I will do a standard house and give to this person. But what if the owner has 2 kids and he wants another room for them and you didn't put this in the original plan? Or the owner has mobility issues and the stairs need to be adapted and you didn't consider this, for example, or many other possibilities. Exist many possibilities that you need to check before. So understand the ones who are using your solution. It's fundamental in this case. Who is my client? What does this person need? What I can deliver to this person specifically. But let's say that you talk with this person and you are going now to build the house, build the project that you design. But you listen to the owner once and you're going immediately to build the house. But what if the owner doesn't like your initial project? You didn't ask for feedbacks, for example. Would you build it before validating with him if this is really what he wants or not? Or for example, during the construction, he changed his mind and prefers to make the cinema room become an office again because maybe the original project was an office and then he wanted to change to cinema room, but now he wants the office again. How you can make sure that this is happening, or many other things during the building process. So we can simply say that because you listen once to your client, you know everything that she or he wants. You need to be adaptable in this process. Check, okay, validate, this is okay, and be validating during the whole process. And the process of building a house, we can see here the design thinking be applied, and I'm going to explain you why. So this is the concept, a non-linear process. So what does it mean? That all the steps that we have, everything that we have, not necessarily needs to follow a process. You can go back and forward as you wish, as makes sense for you. You need to understand the users, challenge assumptions that you have, redefine problems, create innovative solutions, and super important, prototype and test these solutions. And for the design thinking, we have 3 main principles. We have the empathy. You need to understand the users, build empathy with the client, for example. The expansive thinking, use your creativity to expand your mind and think about different possibilities so you can build an innovative solution by the end of the day. And experimentation. You need to build something and test and validate and experiment to see if this really makes sense. So these 3 are the 3 E's of the design thinking. You can find different frameworks, methodologies, etc. But the principles, the concept I already presented, and the principles, they are in all the frameworks related to design thinking you can find. Empathy, expansive thinking, and experimentation. But okay, you can look to this and okay, what should I do? I understand what does it mean, but in the day-to-day, what can I do to do this? And I selected one specifically framework that is called Design Sprint. So exists many different frameworks and methodologies related to design thinking you can use, and this is one framework, a very interesting one that you can apply, for example. But one important thing, not necessarily need to follow all of these. You can, okay, I want this one, I want that one, but once you get deeper to the framework, you can understand what really you can use and what you can maybe do not use, or if you want to use the whole process, feel free to. But let me explain what is design thinking. So the first thing is the understand. So the whole design thinking is based on these 6 phases, and the first phase, you need to diverge. So you are going to understand, create a shared knowledge base across everyone, meaning putting everyone in your team that are working on this project to understand what is going on. So expand, diverge. Okay, who's my user? What is the context? Exist any already built solution for this problem? What people think about it? Build an empathy map. Create your persona. Understand the problem you are working with. So you can go to the second phase and converge. So you are going to evaluate everything you learn and establish the focus, because your problem can be super huge, but by the end, understanding your user, understanding everyone, you define that the specific focus you're going to have in this problem is that tiny thing that would be super important for the user, for example. So instead of trying to hug the word, you can select the focus that you're going to work with and create a huge impact in this client. And then once you define the focus, you go to the phase 3, that is a sketch. So you're going to generate and share a broad range of ideas as individuals. These are, again, you're going to diverge. You're going to use your creativity to think about different solutions and, okay, what if this, what if that, this solution, that solution, blah, 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 and everyone thinks about different ideas. So you go for the phase 4, you're going to decide, you finalize the direction or concept to be prototyped and executed. You have a lot of ideas, but you select 1 or 2 or combine 3 into one specifically and decide that this is your final solution that you're going to work with. Once you decide this, you go for the next phase, that is the prototype. You're going to work together to create a prototype of your concept to finally validate if this is the right direction or not. So you're going to put your concept in front of the users and you end up with a validated concept or invalidated concept to improve on. In both cases, you learn and improve a lot using the whole design sprint methodology. And probably right now you're looking to this and, okay, but how can I apply this? Pretty interesting, but what should I do in my daily basis? So, to give an example, let's say that your problem is you are working with this university and the university, okay, we cannot put the students in the class, so we need to deliver the content virtual. What can we do to deliver the best virtual classes possible? And you have this problem. So let's say that the first thing you do is you run a survey to map how the students are, their main concerns, and finally build an empathy map to understand how the users are. But maybe you can explore not only the users, the professors, people that work in the university, etc., to understand how they are. Then you identify that the main issues, specifically with the students, for example, they're facing now is internet connection. They cannot watch the live class without problems, interruptions with the connection, for example. The social distance for them, it's been hard, for example, to not being close to the other students, to not being having moments to talk with students and do things, activities together. And it's hard for them to focus on the class, to be there for 2 hours, for example, watching the professor explaining something. And then you brainstorm the first idea. You brainstorm what activities can we do, what are the platforms, improvements that we can make, or other platforms that we can implement here. And like you think about a lot of ideas, and the final proposal design, let's say that you together agree is, let's say, have recorded classes and activities to be watched and done before the live class, and then they go to the live class just to do exercise and have this social, let's say, moment. And then to see if this really makes sense, you prepare one class, the content, the materials, etc. You prepare everything and put in practice. You invite the students to attend your class, you make mistakes, you learn, but you see if this is the correct path that you should take or the students didn't like that idea that you prototype with them. Let's say that this group of students with 10 students just to check how they react to this. So this whole simple process here, it's exactly the design sprint methodology. You can see each one of the phases in each one of these topics, and with this you can build a solution, prepare a prototype and validate if this should be the right solution or not. And this helps you to not waste effort, resources, putting everything that you have in this solution because if by the end you discover that this is not the best solution, maybe you should change something or completely pivot your initial idea. So applying the right dynamics, the right things, you're literally following the 6 phases. You just need to be aware about it and maybe design better the agenda of how you're going to follow all the phases. And you can use this for a virtual conference, to develop a smartphone app, to any type of human-centered problem, a problem that is focused on solving an issue for a human being. That has the human as the center of the point of the problem. And with this, you can have the whole design thinking, design sprint, all the 6 phases being applied to these type of problems. So recapping, we have 2 types of problem: the tame problem and the weak problem. And our focus with this, it's the weak problem that we can also hold human-centered problems. So on these type of problems, we can use design thinking and the design sprint, for instance, to solve these type of problems. So to solve this problem, we need to use creativity, because we need to expand our mind and understand the creative process is a super important point, because having as many inputs as you can have a higher amount of output ideas. And the principles of the design thinking are empathy, expansive thinking, and experimentation. The design sprint is one framework possible that you can use, but exists many. And if you want to get deeper in this topic, in this subject, you can go for the Design Sprint Kit by Google. You can check, it's a website with all this methodology explained into details. Or if you want to go deeper, even deeper, you can check the book Sprint, Solve Deep Problems and Test New Ideas in Just 5 Days. That is a very good book based on this original idea on Google, but with a 5 days agenda. It's pretty interesting, super short book. If you want to check more things about design thinking, you can check the Octopus blog by IDEO and the Interact Design Foundation. Both of them have like courses and content related to design thinking. That's me. Thank you so much. If you want to check me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Medium, I have some articles about design thinking there. It will be a pleasure. So let's be in touch, and I hope you enjoy it. Bye bye.